So hopefully now that you've gotten a chance to move around in VBA and you've got a chance to upload all your raw data, we're going to look at some of the first pre-processing steps we're going to apply. The first three that we're going to be looking at in this video are filtering, editing channels, and interpolating the channels that we've edited. So we're going to go ahead, open back up VBA. You'll remember we have all of our raw data here. So when we want to apply filtering, which is our first step, we're going to go open up the raw data and we're going to go into transformations, find data filtering, and IIR filters. Now, depending on whether or not you want to do ERP analyses or time frequency analyses, that will determine what type of filters you want to apply. So right here, we have ERP filters set up. So we created a low cutoff of 1 and a high cutoff of 30. Now, if we wanted to do time frequencies, we would do a high cutoff of 90, and we would add a notch filter at 60 to remove the interference from the power lines. But for the sake of this video, let's do ERP analyses. So 1 to 30. So I'm going to apply this to everybody. So once I've applied the first pre-processing step, first you'll notice that the data has been filtered itself. It is smoother than it was before, and you'll see filters came up. If I want to double check to make sure what I did, I can right click on filters in this branch, check operation infos. Look at that. I applied a filter, low cutoff at 1 Hertz, high cutoff 30 Hertz, no notch filter. And if I wanted to apply this to each of the participants, right now I've only done it for subject 14, I could just simply drag and drop to each person. Now, as we talked about in the last video, there's a more efficient way to do that, and it's through using history templates. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a history template, and I'm going to throw filters into this. And now, if I wanted to apply this specific step to all of my participants, ideally I would have more steps in this before I applied it to everyone. But then I could go to history template, apply to everybody, save it as pre-processing steps. And I could select everyone here, apply it to the root, their raw data. I could actually choose anywhere in the history file that I wanted to, but right now I'm just going to apply it to each participant's raw data. Okay, and it'll go through and apply it to everyone for me and tell me that there are no errors. Great. So once I have that, then I can see this has been applied to everyone. So after filtering, then we're going to be editing channels. So the point of editing channels is to remove any channels that didn't record properly, weren't recording at all, or something is just really crazy off with them where it's kind of comically bad. So we'll take a look at these ones right here. Now, first off, things like this right here, I wouldn't be too worried about because as you can see, this type of noise is happening across every single channel, and it's not actually happening during a relevant part of the experiment. We don't see any markers here, so I wouldn't be too worried about that type of mess will get dealt with artifact rejection. But I would be concerned right here with channel 49 that did not record for the entire experiment. So we can see all the way across, channel 49 wasn't recording, something was off with it. Another example, and I already know because I looked ahead of time, is channel 118. So we can see here, this guy is kind of wonky. He's not terribly bad. This is actually decently clean data, but you can see that compared to everyone else, at least for the first half, he's pretty messy. So if you saw this and even exaggerated, this actually isn't really terrible, then you would want to deal with this by editing out the channel. And here you can see it's pretty bad. Awesome. So let's take channels 118 and 49. So let's edit them out, transformations, edit channels. And here you can see a list of all of our channels, and all of them right now are enabled. So first off, we're going to disable channel 49, which didn't have anything recording, and we're going to disable channel 118, which had crazy recording. Awesome. So we can do that. And you'll see these channels have been removed. We can check. Operation infos, 49 and 118 were removed. Awesome. So once we've done this, once we've edited out these channels, then what we want to do is we want to interpolate them. We want to create new channels in their place that are made up of an average of their surroundings. So what that channel might have been telling us. And we do this so that we don't have missing channels for certain participants, so that we remain consistent when we apply things across every participant and that we have the same number of channels. And now when you do remove each one of these channels, so for instance, for subject 17, I removed channels 49 and 118, you're going to want to write this down, either maybe keep it in an Excel sheet so that when you go to write up your methods section, you can inform them that you removed a certain number of channels from a certain number of participants. So after we've edited channels, then we're going to go back to transformations, and we are going to use what's called pooling. So there's a few different ways that you can interpolate channels. We've found that pooling is the most efficient, the most effective. So let's say, first off, I need to know what channels I want to use. So I went online and Googled just what the sensor net I used was. It was called a geodesic 128 channel sensor net. You can go do the same, and ideally you can find a picture like this that gives you the layout of all the different electrodes. So first I'm looking for channels 49 and 118. 118 I can see is right here, and I'm going to select the channels that surround it that could be combined to create an average that might represent what that channel would have recorded were it not messy. So 118 can maybe use 5, 124, 111, and 112, these 4 channels that surround it. And 49 over here is a little trickier. It's kind of in an awkward position on the head, but we could use 44, 45, and 56. So let's go back to BVA. We're going to go 49 new, 44, 45, and 46. Now you'll see that there's already channels here. When you open this up, I've already done this. When you open this up, there will be nothing, and you'll want to tell them how many pools you want. So let's say 3. Oops. Edit parameters. Let's say I want 3. Then I'll have a new one here. Let's say I maybe wanted to remove channel 12. I'll call it 12 new, and I can choose which channels I want to interpolate it with. The channels are out of order here, which is a little inconvenient, but you can just skim through and find each of the channel numbers that you'll want. And once you've selected the ones, so 44, 45, 46, and for 118, I used 111, 112, 124, and 5. So just as a refresher, we got those from here. 118 was 112, 5, 124, and 111. So once we do this, then we're going to make sure we keep the old channels, and we're going to apply this step. So now we can see pooling has come up here, and now we can see that we have these new channels. Let me go down. They should be at the bottom. Yep, perfect. 118 new and 49 new. So these are the new channels that are just interpolated versions from their surrounding channels. Sweet. So obviously these 2 steps, editing channels and pooling, are 2 steps that you won't want to apply in a history template to every single participant, because you're going to have to go through every participant's own channels to see what they need to have done. So this is one of the steps that will just be applied individually, and then you can use history templates for steps that will be applied across all participants. So things like filtering, and as we'll see later on, other steps. Great. So with this, you can go through, and it's very time consuming, but you can look at all the different channels, make sure you move all the way across, make sure anything that you see that is super, super messy or isn't recording properly gets edited out, and then that those channels that have been edited out get interpolated. And you're going to do that for every channel. So 1 to 32, 33 to 65, for every single channel for each participant. So once you've done that, once you've filtered, once you've edited the channels, and once you've interpolated all those channels that you've edited, and you've kept track of all the channels you took out and put it into a different file, then you're good to move on to the next steps. And this is probably one of the most time-consuming parts of pre-processing data, so enjoy.